Top 5 Most Violent Courtroom Brawls. Michael Madison.
I am struck by the sheer inhumanity of what one human being can do to not one, but 3 human beings.
Monsters like Michael Madison can make you root for any attack that hurts them. Madison is a horrifically special kind of monster, however, a serial killer. This jaw-dropping horror scene started on July the 18th, 2019 in Cleveland, Ohio. When neighbors started smelling a foul smell coming from a nearby garage, the police were called in, but what they found next was skin crawling. 3 decomposing bodies were spread inside the garage, wrapped in trash bags. The bodies were those of victims Angela Deskins, Chatisha Sheely, and Sherdella Helen Terry. What manner of man could be capable of something so heinous? The one who rented the garage, Michael Madison. Without a shred of doubt around his guilt state, Madison was arrested. However, the details of the murders are even scarier than the dead bodies, as apparently 2 of them were strangled and 1 has an unknown cause of death. But what is sure is that all 3 died at the hands of the monster, Michael Madison. Psychotic and beyond dangerous, Madison confessed to his crimes and was charged with way more counts than murder, including rape and corpse abuse. For anyone in Ohio, it would have been tough to sleep, but Madison got what he deserved, an eye for an eye. Madison received a unanimous vote for the death penalty, and even though it's usually appealed, what he did was so horrendous that this time it stuck. The court hearing became a scene of pure heartbreak. Sherelda Terry's father, Van, tearing on the heartstrings of all attendees. However, after a provocative smirk from Madison, Van did what all of us would be wishing to do, and attacked Madison in court. Court violence is never the answer, and supporting one's death might seem dark, but in this case, anybody would root for the father. Van's attack, being stopped, did not change much, other than depriving a father of sweet vengeance, and now Madison is awaiting a well-deserved execution. Speaking of the Bible, not all people deserve compassion, such as Tristan Lamura, who sheds major doubt on help thy neighbor, because of a night of pure horror on February the 1st, 2009 in Cedar City, Utah. Let's set the scene. Neighbor Vicky Smith is sitting peacefully in her apartment when she suddenly hears screaming and gunshots and finds a bullet going through her wall. It's not something you would expect on an average Sunday night. So, any normal person would, she calls the police. The sounds were coming from her neighbors, Tristan Lamura and his wife, Misty. The police arrive on the scene, expecting to investigate, when all of a sudden, they find Lamura legging it like a bat out of hell. Now, we are no detectives, but that screams suspicious every single time. The police arrive and are suddenly met with a perplexing situation. They find Misty dead in her bathroom from a gunshot wound. Okay, just as you and everyone else in the world would think, Tristan did it. But the plot shockingly thickened. According to Tristan, Misty committed suicide by shooting herself in the head, and that he even tried to wrestle the gun away from her. So innocent husband and suicidal wife, or innocent wife and wife murdering husband. And why would an innocent man trying to save his wife run? Because of this predicament, Lamura was only charged with possession of a firearm and running from the police. But after witnesses came forward and the police found new evidence, such as Misty being shot several times in the head, he was found guilty of the crime. So he did kill Misty, and he even pleaded guilty. Following his plea, he received 15 to life. And this wasn't it though, as in the testimony spotlight of the courtroom stood Misty's brother, Jason Wilson, who was getting more and more charged with his speech and decided to blindly attack Lamura in court, but got restrained before he could land a super satisfying blow. Later though, Wilson would get his revenge, but not by his own hand, but by Karma's, as Lamura got stabbed in prison by his cellmate and had to spend 6 days in a hospital. Talk about poetic justice. Continued with the twisting pattern of those who murder their partners, we have Dale Williams.
Dale Williams had pleaded guilty to aggravated murder in the death of his ex-girlfriend,
who took his issues with his ex-girlfriend to the point of murder. Some killers are discreet about what they do, but ones like Dale Williams have no shame doing what they did in broad daylight, as he did on June the 15th, 2017 in Youngstown, Ohio. What started as a simple car crash between exes, Dale Williams and Elizabeth Pledger Stewart, or as simple as a car crash can be compared to murder, turned into a scene of absolute insanity as Dale suddenly pulled out his gun and emptied it on Elizabeth in broad daylight. Obviously, he didn't think it through, as police were on the scene quicker than he could put his gun away, and he was arrested. Unlike Lamura, however, there was no shadow of a doubt that Williams was the killer, and he was immediately charged with murder. Why he even killed Elizabeth is a mystery, and it can't just be because of an old couple's issues, but what's important is that Williams got what he deserved, 23 years to life in prison. Now, while that was enough for the justice system, it was nowhere near enough for Elizabeth's sons, who charged at Williams in court and didn't have mercy on him, just as he didn't on their mum. Officers tried to break up the fight, but it proved fruitless until they had to taser one of them. In these cases, blood overtakes all reason and all laws.
Official business. First News showed you this dramatic video of the men attacking Williams. One of them was next to Williams near the podium when they grabbed him. The other brother then jumped over the railing and started attacking Williams. Deputies broke up that fight, but not before Stewart got tased. Both men were supposed to be arraigned last week.
Murder is unforgivable, but there are other crimes that also make you have zero sympathies for a predator. Like Michael Cox Jr., who joins the ranks of pedophiles who got exactly what they deserved, and perhaps even less. Cox's stomach-turning deed took place in Otero, New Mexico in July 2014, when he took advantage of the fact that his girlfriend was out, and instead of preparing something romantic or taking care of the house while she was gone, he goes ahead and inappropriately touches her little daughter. For monsters like Cox, a romantic partner can't cure their sick and twisted minds, so he was obviously found guilty and received an 18-year sentence. The man responsible for taking him down, District Attorney Scott Key, who was present in court. However, in true villain fashion, Scott couldn't handle being brought to justice by a good man, and decided to launch himself at him in court and got restrained by the police. Thankfully, sometimes the justice system is fair to a comedically satisfying degree, as Cox racked on an extra charge and years of imprisonment like they were Halloween candy. First, he received an extra 11 years for attacking a peace officer. Okay, you might be thinking 29 is a fair punishment enough, but no. He received an extra year for aggravated battery, taking him all the way to 30 years in prison. We better regret that night when he's 60 in a cold prison cell. But wait, there's more. The judge wasn't through with him yet, and added even more years to his original sentence, an extra 4. Talk about no mercy to one who least deserves it. There's someone else who shares Cox's exact same crime, David Chiselton. But the difference is, he took things to mind-boggling extremes. It started in Cleveland, Ohio in 2017, and just like Cox, Chiselton also sexually assaulted his girlfriend's 15-year-old daughter. However, instead of justice running smoothly and him getting arrested with no further damage like Cox, Chiselton went on a lunacy rampage. First, he pistol-whipped his innocent girlfriend, the mother of the victim. But that wasn't good enough, whatever was going through his twisted mind, as he then set fire to the entire apartment complex. If you're thinking that's insane and totally out of nowhere, you'd be right. But unfortunately, it doesn't even end there. In a sequence straight out of a murderous crime movie, Chiselton had a standoff with SWAT before, and much to the relief and safety of everyone in Cleveland, he was finally arrested and tried. Chiselton's reign of terror didn't end with that SWAT standoff though, as the scene inside the courtroom was just as insane as the apartment complex, with Chiselton looking more and more agitated with the judge before, in a perplexing twist, turning on his own attorney and attacking him. Just a wild guess, but it's probably very dumb to attack the one person willing to defend you. But if you've learned anything from these lists, these criminals have as much reason as they do freedom. None. Once Chiselton was restrained, he had a boatload of charges ahead of him, including felony assault and arson, keeping him locked up and away from the society he clearly doesn't belong in for 47 years.